Hi everyone, Jim Vernon here. I'm going to show you how to merge or join data from two different Excel tables. I have the sales property here. I've renamed the file just for the purposes of this demo. You can rename it to Boulder County, Maine, or whatever you're going to use for your final project. Because we're going to be merging by pulling everything into the table with the transactions in it. So I have strap number, transaction date, and price. It's important to sort your files by strap number. It'll make the Vlookup work, and it might not if you don't have them sorted. So we're going to pull into this file, in this case from the buildings file, but you're going to do it for multiple files. I'm just going to show you how to do it for the first column here, design. Obviously, we see that the first strap numbers match, and I could just say, okay, it's detached multi-story condo. I can go and type that in or copy and paste it into the other file, but that's 230,540 different transactions that I'd have to look up in this file. Sometimes I'd find them, sometimes I wouldn't. So instead of doing that, we're going to use the Vlookup function, and here's how it works. Oh, before we start the Vlookup, let's actually arrange our file. We're going to want all of these column headers eventually. So I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to copy with Control C, which you can't see obviously in the demo. Come back over here and put them in. And later on I can, change the column widths and so forth so we can read all of them and so forth. But for now, I just want to use a function to pull in what we know will be multi-story condo in this first one. And it's the Vlookup function. If you start typing it, you'll see it here. And you can, if you want, pull up additional information about the function by double-clicking on that Vlookup title. I'll get rid of that. If we need it, we can go to it. You can see we need four things. We need a lookup value, a table array, a column index number, and then an optional field called range lookup. I'll explain at the end. So the first thing is the lookup value. Well, that's the strap number. We're going to look up the strap number in the other table. So we hit a comma, and now we need to select the other table, which is actually a little more complicated, but it's the entire table that we want. So, sorry, we're going to go from A1 in this file all the way down to the bottom and then all the way over to the right. Notice how these in the address are absolute addresses. That's helpful because you're going to want to do that for multiple lookups. We need another comma, and now it's asking us for the column index number. So let's go up to the top and make sure we know what we're talking about here. The column index number tells us which column in this table am I using to pull back. Not what am I looking up. I'm looking up in the first column always. And so I actually want column index equal to 2, which is going to go to column B in this table. And then the final thing, we can ask for an approximate match or an exact match. And I believe we actually, let's see if we can use an exact match with false. And look at that. It came back. No miracle here yet. But you can see that's the full specification of the Vlookup function, and it's pulling back the right answer. Next comes a little bit of the hard part, and this is something you're just going to have to keep managing. We're going to copy this formula, and this is where it's nice that that address range is absolute because we don't have to redo any of that. It's always going to be column 2. It's always going to be an exact match. It's always going to be that table array, and the only thing that's going to change is the actual strap number that we're looking up. So I've copied it with Control C. I'm going to go in here and go from column or from cell D3 to cell D230,541, which is the bottom of my table. And so I'm going to hit enter there, and I've selected the whole row now, the whole range, sorry. Now I hit Control V, and this sometimes takes a little bit of time. And I'll pause until it comes back. Okay, so here it is, and it may look like it didn't work, like it's always looking at detached multi-story condo, but if we scroll down to the bottom, sorry, I'm in the cell. If we scroll down to the bottom, we see we actually do have a range of different kinds of styles. You'll notice some of them are NA. I'll talk a little bit more about NA in another demo. But what we have here, notice we have the Vlookup function in every case, and so you're going to have to do a couple more things to make this manageable. If you were to try to do the entire table at once, it would certainly choke your Excel, choke your computer, and you'd freeze up. So even before we come over here, we could come over here and do the Vlookup function and copy it again, but it would get slower and slower because the spreadsheet's going to recalculate each of these Vlookups every time you enter a new formula and do a calculation. So before we do that, I would suggest the following. We're going to highlight all of these values, and we're going to, sorry, I need to be on the Home tab here. We're going to copy, and then we're going to paste special. We're going to paste just the values, and we might as well use the number formatting and keep it the same. Once I do that, notice that the Vlookup function is no longer there, so it's only storing text. It's going to be a lot faster to do it this way. So then what you do is you come over here and you do the Vlookup. This time the index number would be 3, and so on all the way across. So you're going to populate this table by doing that, but you're going to want to pause at each point and probably copy the previous column and then paste just the values, because otherwise by the time you're finished you'll have so many different instances of the Vlookup function that it will just slow your computer too much and eventually likely crash it. So that's my suggestion for that. And once you do that, you'll have a fully populated table with basically all the values from the buildings file in the transactions file, with a couple of exceptions you might notice when we went down to the bottom. There's some values that are NA. Sometimes it will not find the strap number, and that's going to be okay. This is sort of normal with with data analysis. So this should show you how to do all the joins. In the assignment instructions, I'll tell you which fields I want you to bring in from the various different tables, and then we'll proceed with steps 7, 8, 9, and 10, and I will give you some shortcuts along the way.